Sorry, I'm totally trying to sound like I was relaxing, but I just sat down. Either way, we're still here. Ready to go? Alrighty. Folks, my good folks, my good... Dude. This guy is like, oh, you're starting? Thank you. Wow, the timing, sir. What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome. We love those fun starts, don't you? We've got some good stuff to go over today, folks. We have a new monthly report coming out, fresh, hot off the press. Whatever, I don't know what they call it. If it's press, if it's
there he is.
Is it still press if we're digital? Don't really. Digital press is kind of all over the place. Anyways, we got a new monthly report just released yesterday, which was today for me because, you know, time differences and stuff. And I am ready to go over it with you, spend a couple hours here yammering about, and touch on some pretty interesting features. We got talk of the Polaris, which is always exciting for a large amount of the community. We've got locations news, engine news, we got features, missions, platforming, scanning, reputation, and even the character skill system, which I've already started some discussion on the YouTube channel and on Twitter. If you want to go weigh in on those, I've put my own opinions down and everybody's kind of talking about how they feel about it. But we'll have some discussion about that too today. Either way, thanks for joining me, folks. If you come in here for the first time live, welcome. Get some chats in, ask some questions. If you're watching this after the fact, come join us live one of these times. And if you're a returning member, well, you know what kind of good times we're in for. Welcome, everybody. Cascal. I see you, Cantor, Rockstar, Tolga. Snuff it. You have a friend with a Polaris. You think you're as excited as he is? Well, you get to enjoy the benefits of a Polaris without having to own one, so you should be excited. Plywood Box, good to see you. I hope your Ares Inferno is treating you well, folks. That is the winner of our July giveaway. That's right, real people win our giveaways. And we'll be starting a new one soon for a Nomad with a starter package come probably tomorrow for August. So keep an eye out for that. Marco Holio, good to see you. Dig Dug, Matt Sully, Shane, Division Error, welcome. Punji, yo, Punji the Toes gang. Let me tell you, speaking of Punji and the other wonderful people over at GII helping to run that wonderful organization, join GII, folks. Tyrus says, we're doing a little bit of restructuring over there. So we're having some good conversations. If you are excited to see GII grow or change or adapt in any way and you want to have some feedback in that, we've put a poll out in the announcements on the Discord. This goes out to people who have been active in the org, people who have been sitting back, maybe signed up for the org but haven't jumped in at all. Tell us what you would want to see to jump into the game. Honestly, we're trying to improve the experience for you, so always appreciated. Shout out to Punj, Cantor, Josh, good to see you all. Revelis, can you stop making noise, mic arm? Makes me sound bad. Josh, good tomorrow. It is, we're getting on evening time here. It's about 5. Hello, Brent and Thalon Farkas. Hello, Josh. Again, 07s. And I see a couple first timers in here. Welcome, folks. Yeah, we got stream snipe today. Dreadalocks, good to see you. Can't tell if CH is trolling or being serious. I missed that. SC is going to come out in 2034. Or do we have to fund millions more before they even release new ships? I don't think that would be an or statement. I think that would be an and statement. If it's coming out in 2034, I think we would probably, yes, need to fund millions more. Either way, though, I think we will be funding millions more. They will be releasing new ships. And I don't think it's going to come out in 2034. But I think we'll be playing it then. Whether it's a good enough game for anybody or not is another question. Cascal, pronounced your name correctly. I've gotten better pronunciation ever since I started to have to learn Turkish names. Gotta get out of bed first. Ah, nah. Enjoy your ships from bed. You're having trouble getting it to appear in a game, but you tried buying paint so you'll see if there's... No, don't buy things to make it work. That's no fun. I hope it does work for you, though. Let me know if not, and we'll get something figured out. Mrs. T in chat, I see you. And Kirkus with the early raid, bringing in a couple extra viewers here to join us for the lovely, lovely monthly report. These are my favorite streams, honestly, of the whole month, guys. We get a lot of good conversation and opinions going on in chat. I like hearing what you guys think of these developments. Why don't we go ahead and jump into it, though? No reason to dilly-dally. Squabble pop. Jibber jabber. Let's get straight into it. All right, starting with AI. Actually, before I start, let me remind you, I am still a little bit sick. So we're gonna both go through this real-time test to see if I can actually get through 2 hours of this yabbering to and not like cough up a lung or lose my nostrils or something. 10 years old now. It seems a long way from completion. Oh, it is a long way from completion, my friend. It is indeed. Axis, what's up, dude? How you been, man? You been hanging out? You been around? It's been a little while. All right. So, now that I've given my disclaimers, I've told you all I'm sick. Yeah, you, man. I haven't caught your name in chat as much lately. Alrighty. So, AI tech. Last month, AI tech finalized work to allow... Oh, and by the way, guys, I'm not just going to read this all. It won't just be a kind of read through and then we're done. We're going to do a lot of questions. I'm going to pull up footage and concept images and stuff to support this. So if you're looking for a little bit more context, this would be the place to be. But I will also have a more polished video out next Friday or Saturday for you. Anyways, last month, AI tech finalized work to allow NPCs to transition between EVA and environments with gravity. Do you guys think that that works better than for us? Like, us transitioning is painful for like our wrists. You like spin around your wrist. Whatever happens, happens. This required an update to the usables code, including exposing it to enter and exit location information. Now NPCs can enter and exit ships through airlocks or hatches by vaulting over ledges. Good for them. We actually saw they were working on that last month, so looks like they got that completed. The team also implemented simple behaviors and assignments for entering and exiting ships, which compute a path to a location and utilize the most suitable usable to find the transition. This is all the kind of stuff that's going to add to our, NPC crews would be good, but also personnel transport, which we kind of got to see a small sort of prototype of, but to be honest, I don't think it's coming anytime soon. It seems they've put it on the back burner. Hey, that old term. And you know what? I don't even know if... I'm pretty sure I have the footage for this. But maybe not. That is strange. CitizenCon? Yeah, no, it was at CitizenCon. There we go. So this is the footage we have of this so far. And the transitions they're talking about would be literally like this. A ship, an NPC walking from a space station onto a ship. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but they are transitioning between two object containers. The game's netcode, the physics system, the ship itself, all of those things need to recognize that transition and change the way the AI logic acts after it gets on the ship. So that kind of stuff will help with personnel transport, but to be honest, all of this AI improvement stuff we generally don't see because the servers don't run well enough. This kind of stuff is more useful for Squadron 42. Are all these things being carried over from Squadron? Yeah, likely. There's no way for us to know exactly what's going to be in Squadron versus what is not. But a lot of AI stuff specifically works better in Squadron, so it's going to be noticeable there first. And the game has to release, so they've got to get it working there first. First time here for the game, you'd kill for a polish and optimization pass. It's unlikely as they sit on so much tech debt and keeping stuff back for Squadron, but man, we desperately need it. We do. I will give you that. We do need an optimization pass. It would just lead to more disappointment though, you know? We'd get an optimization pass and two updates later, it would be garbage again. We kind of see it because there are definitely peaks and valleys of stability in this game when they can get enough fixes in and the game's running pretty well and then the next update comes by and not so great. Your prediction is lots of ships in the ship section, lots of variants. Wonder if any of them will take the cutter for high AE. Did somebody ask if I, let's see. Nah. I swear somebody asked if I still had, like, hope or something, or faith in the game. Oh, no, I lost that. Either way, let's keep going. On the navigation side, yeah. AI tech upgraded navigation links to connect two volumes from different zones, which is needed for moving platforms. The previous implementations only allowed links between parent and child zones rather than between two unrelated zones. You got to make sure those two zones are unrelated. You know, you start pairing up parent and child or child and child. Don't mess with relations, you know? This is why we go through engine development. Further optimizations and improvements were made for navigation mesh raycasts as well. Next up, AI Tech also picked up the ongoing work on voids. That's a fun word, voids. I could show you guys what voids are real quick. These are voids. They're literally just your like average bird or rodent in a game. Every game has them. Every game uses them. They fill up the space. They're not that important, but you know, immersion and stuff. So they're currently working on 2D void agents, such as rodents, that will move across terrain within the confines of the navigation mesh. They're also adding constraints to avoid navigation mesh edges to ensure the voids stay inside navigable areas. Next, they'll look into voids agents playing animations while moving or idle, like rats pooping and stuff. What do I hope to see on ISC today? We're hearing about Rastar changing up the underground facilities, so I'm guessing I just really hope that we can see. I know that we're going to get an update showing us how building underground facilities has improved, how it's easier for them, how it makes locations easier for them to make, and that's what I'm always interested to hear, the development news. But since we know about these new UGFs being made that from CitizenCon, and we know about these old UGFs that are in Stanton, I really hope that they can go into detail about why they're creating the new sizes, or rather how these old ones are going to fit into this archetype of UGFs they're making that take into account the ones we saw in CitizenCon, the bunkers that we're in today, and anything in between. I'm also hoping that they might tell us about changes that we actually notice in 3.20, but who knows? More things to break the servers. Well, yeah, definitely. T-pose and rats. It's been a minute since you've done cargo gameplay. I hear it's pretty good. All right, where are we, my friends? Subsumption. Oh my gosh, we need to get like a shirt for this subsumption or something. The subsumption editor received numerous improvements, including a variable type editor, the ability to copy paste states while editing a master graph, improved views of how master graph transitions are presented, an improved activity view for available subactivities and functions, and a validation panel that presents errors and warnings when loading and saving files. Hand up in chat for anybody who doesn't know about subsumption. I've tried not to like cover it obsessively over the last couple months, but I think it's time we do a little update for anybody who hasn't seen it. Subsumption is AI logic. Actually, let's bring in a good Tony Z to help us explain this one. It says subsumption AI are AI that exist in the game. They take a lot of computation power. They have to be physically rendered and have animations and stuff. You can't simplify their activities or simulations. They require a lot of services to run. And that is because they are actual functional NPCs with a full-on task tree that will get triggered and changed based on what goes on around them. If somebody shows up with a certain type of gun or a certain type of ship, the game has to tell them how to act based on their own logic. And each NPC, based on what they like or dislike, whether they are more prone to violence or if they're more about pacifism, they'll have different subsumption trees because they're meant to do different things at different times. We see this also when it comes to, let me see if I have an example actually of AI acting differently under the same situation. So this might be an example of it. In this situation, you have 4 different AI. 2 of them are defenders, one's a strafer, one's a pusher. All of them are undergoing subsumption right now, telling them to do things based on what they're seeing and detecting in the game. But that subsumption is different from each of them because it tells them to do something different at each time. I think I have an even better example of this. I don't know, this is an old clip, so maybe not. Man, we have a lot of files here. It's taking a while to search. No, I don't think I've got it. Let me try one other option. Here we go. Cool. I got it. So this is a very good visual conceptualization of 2 different NPCs running on 2 different subsumption trees, you could say. It's not something they said. I'm making this up. But this is how I understand it. You've got one AI over here who clearly has different animations, a different way of moving, and is not willing to take a shot. Takes a shot, doesn't look great doing it. This guy takes a shot, looks even worse. Those are 2 different animations playing because of 2 different actionables, right? And then you have other NPCs that may be trained in this kind of stuff. Obviously, carry themselves a little bit differently, might make a different decision to charge you or not in a situation when you're reloading as opposed to the other AI. This is all an example of how subsumption's kind of the fuel that makes everybody's experience different. So that's why it comes up in here a lot. That's why they talk about the way that it works all the time. It's a very important tool. I'm actually glad that we continuously hear updates on that. I have not talked about the Polaris yet. We're on AI right now. You only call SC feature complete when we get Tessa Bannister? Oh man. Whenever they bring back Tessa, they're going to have to make it in a headline feature in the update. Is private servers coming for this game? Probably not on the persistent universe side. But definitely when it comes to closed matches. So if you want to do death matches or dog fighting or shooting pew pew at people, those will be private for sure, yeah. Do I still have faith or hope in SC's future in general? Well, yeah. I wouldn't be here if I didn't, to be honest. I'd move on to something better. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that people kind of miss whenever you say something negative or put out content that might be viewed as a negative. People think that means that you've just like lost all hope and you're giving up and stuff. That's not the case. Yeah, by the way, we're doing monthly report right now. This is all July's feature and ship updates. Right now we're on AI, but we're getting to the exciting stuff. We'll get there. Various features and AI systems received improvements in July as well. For the usable group coordinator, designers can now specify that a group of NPCs should synchronize when transitioning from one group of usables to another. Huh. For NPCs pushing trolleys, the team optimized the PID controller and adjusted the default parameters to stabilize quicker after turning on a path. Yo, this could be really cool. If you're synchronizing NPCs to transition from one group of usables to another, then we might be talking about things like, say, where is all my footage? I should definitely have an AI clip of this. Sometimes you get too many clips and then you can't find the one that you want. We have seen AI being worked on this year, specifically when it comes to things like cargo loading and unloading. Now, they did that in a Star Citizen Live, and I think that specific part actually might have escaped us. But we have seen like the AI logic starting to figure out how to find a trolley, find a ship, find a pile of boxes, and figure out which box is able to be lifted and should be moved, and then moving that box to a preset location and mission complete, right? This is essentially having NPCs come from the freight elevators, unload your ship of its physical cargo, and load it back up with something else before letting you go. It's a really, really important feature. This is like, I don't have this clip. No, this is, no, that's not it. Yeah, I am missing that one, unfortunately, but we have seen this in video. I'll have to get that one at some point and save it on here. This is a huge feature. This goes to NPC crews. This goes to persistent hangars working with freight elevators. This will eventually work with you, you know, telling an NPC to pick something up and bring it onto your ship, stuff like that. This is where it all starts. And it's still a really, really long way away. I'm not trying to say that's anywhere close to happening or that that's something that they're focusing on a lot, but we are seeing some signs of it. What's next? Giving them elevators? What do you mean by that? Hope they have some seriously good news regarding AI at CitizenCon this year. I mean, the AI that they've shown at CitizenCon like last year was pretty decent. I actually really liked the combat AI we were seeing in CitizenCon last year. They were specifying their attack types. They were choosing different approaches. They were flanking you. From what I've seen, it's actually not bad. But more of the social AI would definitely be nice to see. All right. Finally, for NPC perception of audio stimuli, AI tech began using new functionality exposed by the audio team, which will utilize the room system to understand if an audio event should be received. The audio perception in AI is also pretty crazy. Guys, ultimately, I'll have to do a video at some point on AI in this game, because all of it working together is going to be impressive if it does. All right, animation team. Last month, the animation team focused on improving visual results for reloads and takedowns. They also worked on basic idols for weapons and knives, which are planned for release in Alpha 3.20. These are like those little things that we get into an update that don't get a release view and don't get mentioned at all. We fit these into the reviews rather than the previews. They're currently making improvements to player-prone animations and adding an increasing number of player interactions to improve immersion in specific environments. What does that mean? What does an increasing number of player interactions mean? Does that mean like with ourselves? Are we like scratching ourselves now? Yeah, more social AI would be great, Patrick. On the facial side, they continue to support new incoming lines for PU pilots and combatants. So they're not always just going to say the same thing to me every time. Oh, what is it like? You shoot a guy and he'll be like, ah, shit. And then you'll fight 10 pirates and 10 other times you'll hear, ah, shit. Like, guys, say something else when I shoot you, please. You've been following the progress for 6 years. When they released the OD, you decided to get stuck in OD. But as the time goes by, your hope is ever so slightly dissolves. You just hope something huge happens soon to get a new boost of hope. It's not a fun position to be in, to be honest. I think personally speaking, in my own opinion, I have been historically of the mindset that people should consider the possibilities of the game, consider the potential of what we've seen already, and kind of go off of that. But I have been saying that with the expectation that server meshing and 4.0 were going to be a solid chance for them to finally start focusing on development. And now that that's taken quite a while, and even when it does happen, I am more of the mindset that it should be a fluid relationship, you know? Like if you, God, that makes it sound so much deeper than it is. Like this should be the way that it is with every game. If there's something about the game you like, look into that stuff. If there's something that's bothering you about the game and it's enough that it's tainting your enjoyment of the other parts of it, I would just push it away. Let it go. I was obsessed with Cyberpunk 2077 from probably 2015, 2014-ish until 2021, whenever that game released. I was obsessed. And then it came out and I played it and I didn't like what it was. So I put it down for 3 years, and just recently I picked it up and started playing it again. Now I didn't keep following along with it and like talk about how they were doing things I did like or weren't doing things I didn't like. I kind of just was like, you know what, this isn't for me right now. And I just ignored it. And I'm really glad I did, because now I'm getting back into it and I'm seeing it with kind of refreshed eyes, and I'm getting a different perspective. And I'm getting to enjoy something that's a little bit more complete. It's no way the game that I wanted it to be, which is fine. They made the game they wanted to make. But it helped me have a little bit better perspective coming back into it and not having had 2 straight years of being like, oh, these bug fixes aren't enough, or, oh, where's the DLC? Like, it really starts to weigh on you. So my best advice for folks is like, if you're frustrated enough with the marketing, with the communication, with the progress of the game, that it's making you not have fun play the game, or not have fun watching streams, or not have fun reading monthly reports, I would put that energy towards another video game, to be honest. That's just my opinion. And I think that's the state that we're at right now, because Star Citizen is at a place where it should speak for itself. They've put a lot of time into the engine. We've got PES, we've got Gen 12, we've got salvage, mining's in a good place, combat's in a decent place, got plenty of locations, planets are good, travel's good. Like, there's enough there that Star Citizen should speak for itself and no longer require people to be here just based on hopes and dreams, you know? So I would say feel free to take a break, at least until CitizenCon, you know, if you're not feeling it. But that's just my take. Thank you for coming to my rant. None of the AI changes we all want can come before server meshing, correct? Or at the very least, the first patch after server meshing. I think you're right, Noctis. I mean, they've been adding changes to AI, and it's so hard to even notice them. I think it was a couple months ago we were playing on stream in Orison, and I got flanked by the AI before I could even figure out what was going on. And I was like, dang, they actually do stuff when they can run. Folks need to look at the scope of the game. It is going to take a while. It is. I think there's plenty of reason to be frustrated by the fact that we were led to believe it wouldn't take as long as it's taking. I mean, I don't think when they came back with the Planet Tech in 2015, if they were like, yeah, guys, 15 years, you all ready? People would have been like, no. But So I understand people being like, hey, you know, the scope is big, but this is taking a while. It's just the sad reality of the project, for mismanagement, for things that they couldn't foresee, for changes to the scope, for just game development being hard. It's taken a while. Just started a few weeks ago while waiting for the next DLC of Cyberpunk. Yeah, that's kind of why I was getting into it. I'm excited for Phantom Liberty. It seems like it's more along the lines of the Cyberpunk gameplay I'm looking for. That sort of political intrigue, conspiracy kind of stuff. So I'm into it. Enjoy the game for what it is and take breaks. Yeah, or be like me and just set your eyes on what the game's supposed to be years in advance and just completely ignore what's happening to you in the present. No, that doesn't work. You try to play the game and it hits you in the face. Do I remember CIG at any point talking about org-related stuff and tools? Seems like after putting the mock-up together years ago, they never talked about orgs. Last time they talked seriously about it, I think, was 2018 CitizenCon. In the road to release, they mentioned that org tools would come before persistence, which would come before server meshing, and then they would be good to go. And then they kind of just said, oops, what orgs? So I don't know what's going on with that. When I get to the ship section, your question is, do I believe the Kraken or Endeavor will come out before the end of the decade? Decade. I think the Kraken will. I don't know about the Endeavor. But I think they both have a good chance. People's perception about the depth of SC will be more respected once Starfield comes out, not even including the multiplayer aspect, but more the depth of the immersion and AI behavior. Bethesda has really good AI. If there's one thing I would say, look to Bethesda for the goods in anything in the whole video game. Okay, two things: world building and AI. They do freaking great AI, and they might suffer from glitches. It might be because of the systems they run on, but like the AI in Bethesda games are freaking cool. So I'm actually looking forward to see how that gets applied to a game like that. SC is my main game when I'm not streaming. I don't really play games very much when I'm not streaming. In fact, I rarely play games. SC is generally the main one, yeah. All right, let's get back to the report. For those of you who are regulars here, you know that's how it is. Rants, questions, the goods. Back in the animation stuff, they're currently making improvements to player pro. I've already read that, sorry. On the facial side, they continue to support new incoming lines for PU pilots and combat. I've already read that. I'm terrible. We're on to art, my friends, on the character side. In July, the character art team continued working on outfits for the Headhunters and Dusters gangs. I'm getting kind of tired of hearing about the Headhunters and Dusters gangs outfits. Let me tell you. Where are we? May. Let's go back to the May monthly report real quick for Star Citizen. And I swear if they talk about the Headhunters and the Dusters outfits, I'm going to throw a shoe. Began work on 2 outfits for the Dusters and Headhunters. Nah, you can't. Like, how can you be? They're just doing their work. But yeah, hopefully they finish this up soon. Alongside this, the character concept team explored ideas for additional Headhunters outfits. So I guess it won't be finished soon. They're getting more. And prepared handoff sheets for IAE and Luminalia. Ah, the Headhunters and Dusters better be looking good. You seen concepts for Dusters? To be honest, Metatron, if you could tell me where that is, I've been looking for a picture of the Dusters or the Headhunters for so long. Because I don't have anything to put into my videos whenever this comes on, like B-roll. I don't have a picture or a video of these gangs. So if you actually have seen their concepts, I would love to know where I might be able to find them. When do we see the outfits for the Union? Should we instead want a polished game that gets patches every quarter? To me, when I think about this verse, isn't should always be expanding and never truly finished. I think there's like a gradient there. I think there's like, the game should never be finished, but the core system shouldn't be changing anymore, right? Must have been on an ISC. I really gotta find that. In fact, wait. I will look that up on Starchives. They might have something on that. I think they used to be called Shipjackers. The Shipjackers? Oh, maybe. That'd be interesting. Huh. All right, let's see. Art on the ship side. CIG has pivoted to using ChatGPT to write the patch notes. Where'd you hear that? Still feels like it's just variations of we are reticulating the splines of the doohickeys within the thingamajig subsystems. Do you mean the monthly reports or patch updates? All right. Art on the ship side, folks. There's a lot of stuff here for those who are looking for Polaris news. This is where it begins. It's going to be like one sentence in here, but I promise we'll talk about the Polaris a bit. So in the UK, the RSI Polaris began its white box pass with a thorough breakdown of the content required. The team then imported the concept mesh and completed a basic entity setup. A rough interior white box was completed, and several issues with the concept were resolved. So we had a little bit of a debate about this earlier this year on one of our streams when we were going over some progress updates. They showed us this last year at CitizenCon. Was it? It might have been Inside Star Citizen. This was all kind of wireframe, sort of white box looking. This is actually gray box looking design of the Polaris interior. It's a big ship. You can see it's got a hangar back here, which can carry a fighter. It's got a long hallway here, 2 big turrets up top, plenty of different thingy-majobs and doohickeys going around, whatever the words you chose. It's got a really, really cool design. Obviously, it's very military focused with the bunks like this. And it's got an angular look. This is a hefty departure from the Bengal, which is the RSI capital ship we currently know. It's a little bit more of an updated style than what we've seen in really any of the ships. Constellation, I guess the Apollo does have or not the Apollo, the Mantis has kind of an updated feel to it. But this is a big ship. There's a lot going on with it. And like I said, we've seen this sort of engine hosted concept modeling. This was not white box. This was the misunderstanding we had earlier this year. People thought that they had already modeled all this stuff out for white box completion for the game. This is all sort of visual conceptual work. So what they're telling us now with the monthly report is that they are now getting the white box going on with the Polaris. That's going to set us on a long cycle though. Let's look at where the Polaris is on Shiny Tracker here, hosted by our favorite Shiny Hobo. Thank you so much for that. Frenchie, I see you with the super chat, dude. You're going to use the Polaris for salvage ops? I'm guessing the Polaris will be creating the salvage. So it looks like they have had work scheduled on it from April, and it's scheduled out till the end of the year, but I can guarantee you, my friends, that's not where it's going to end. This is probably going to be something that we don't see until late next year at the earliest. I would say IAE or CitizenCon next year, maybe. If they don't have other tasks come up, if another ship doesn't take more importance, if everything goes smoothly, I think the earliest we'll see the ship is the end of next year. So heads up for Polaris owners. I might be wrong about that. Nobody actually knows for sure, but that's my thoughts. And things probably won't go how they want them to. So expect it to be a little bit longer, but whenever that does come in, I'm guessing server meshing will be in a better state. They will have more missions and activities that are even, available for a Polaris right now. If you got missions for a Polaris, you would do nothing with it really. So the game is progressing, hopefully at the speed as capital ships are, and hopefully this helps them make other ships like the Perseus a little bit faster. Frenchie, dude, 2 super chats and 5 members. Dog, you know how much members help us? As always, we are supported by our, supporters. Patreon, YouTube, Twitch, however you want to help. That's what makes all this possible. That's what allows us to do weekly videos, weekly podcasts, monthly reports, and other jazz. So thank you to the people like Frenchie, to the people like all of you who, I'm not going to call out names because I don't want to forget somebody, but a lot of people come in here and help us keep this going. What do I think about the current ship backlog? It's long, my friend. It's a big backlog. They got a lot of work to do. Is the Galaxy also RSI? Galaxy. RSI Galaxy sounds right. Yeah. So I think the Polaris would help with things like the Galaxy or the Perseus. They have, say what you will about how long they've been doing this, it has allowed them to figure things out better and better. And I think they're going to make a lot better decisions building out these capital ships to help them build other capital ships faster than we've seen previously with other ships. They slowly got there. I think the Hull A is probably helping them with the, well, no, that's actually not true. That's a bad one. Scrap that. Don't Don't pay attention to that. I think like the C2, the A2, the M2 probably helped them make the C1 and the A1. And yeah, they've talked about kind of having a blueprint for the boyos, for the companies. You're worried about the server costs, Lebeg? It's funny that you think about the server costs because I don't think people ever consider that when they talk about how much money this game's made. Like, the game's made a lot of money, but when you think about the expenses of running servers and then the time it takes to make sure that those servers are usable and the game is usable while trying to build the game. Oh man, they really bit off a big one, didn't they? Okay. Moving on from the Polaris, an as yet unannounced ship, I like this song, it's kind of jazzy. An as yet unannounced ship continued its Lot 0 pass, with the majority of tasks completed and review scheduled. The team is currently focused on adding tertiary details to the interior and exterior, as well as finishing the lighting for each phase. A unannounced ship in the Lot 0 pass. For what it's worth, Lot 0 is where we were with the Storm tank, which I do think still has an opportunity of coming in 3.20 or 3.20.1. I think we might see the Storm tank in the next couple months, but Lot 0 is you're doing pretty well. Doesn't mean you're quite finished, but it's getting close. This could be an IAE ship, maybe a Citizen Con ship, but I don't think we know really much about what it might be. After that, the Crusader A1 Spirit progressed through final art with a handful of LODs remaining for its interior and exterior damage. We do know that the Crusader A1 Spirit is coming in 3.20.1. Depending on whenever 320 comes, that's probably going to be a month and a half maybe after that patch comes out. It's usually what ends up happening. Work also continued on the C1 Spirit cargo variant, with the main differences being minor exterior changes and the cargo room, the latter of which is currently progressing through Greybox with most of the core forms refined. This doesn't make sense to me, to be honest. I guess they just really wanted to get the A1 out first. I'm perplexed as to why the A1 comes out before the C1, but that just must have been how the developer availability goes. As the story goes, guys, this is a company. They've got employees who have children who get sick. They got families who have to move. Sometimes they take vacations. Sometimes they get sick. Anything can happen that ends up pushing back something past what we think it should be. Very possible that somebody who was working on the C1, I don't know, they discovered a starfish on their early morning walk, adopted a new pet, and got carried away with life for a couple weeks. Took a couple weeks off. The C1 ended up falling behind. What can we do? Huh? We're gonna write articles about this guy who likes starfish and shame him for taking a step away from Star Citizen? No! We're gonna let him do what he likes. And we'll take the C1 after the A1. So be it. It's not because the A1 costs more and it'd be nice to get some A1 sales in the store before the C1 becomes available. No! It's the starfish. No, I actually don't know what it is. That was a little bit facetious, but I don't actually know why the C1's coming out later. It's just the way it is. So for anybody who is more into the C1, that's me personally, I think we'll be seeing it by the end of the year. Maybe IAE, maybe Citizen Con or something. Maybe the tractor and cargo gear is delayed, hence the C1. A1 has all cargo in game. All possible, but they did have to create new bombs for the A1. They are bombs that they've made previously in terms of tech, but I'm guessing they had to do the launch stuff, like whatever the launching mechanism would be, the size of the bombs, the art, all that stuff has to be done for the A1, in the same way that the C1 would have to take some of the cargo space from, say, other cargo ships or stuff like that. But I don't think they would hold back the C1 just because it doesn't have a tractor beam. That would be a very weird thing for them to do. Hey, Jacob, thank you for the membership over on YouTube. I'm sorry I missed that. And Stephen French, my friend. Yo, appreciate your super chat. Thanks for the support, guys. YouTube's killing it. C1 development delayed due to devs discovering starfish. You think that'd be bigger headlines than the bed sheet deformation? God. Ah, Jesus. the bedsheet deformation wailing was such an episode. It's so reminiscent of how the press covers Star Citizen that I could see the starfish thing being a thing. Somebody quote me. Somebody clip me. Send it to, like, I don't know, PC Gamer or Dexerto or Kotaku. Maybe that means they fixed the broken bomb tech. Maybe. Maybe they just thought the A1 was more exciting to build, so they did it first. They started both of them at the same time. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was the December monthly report where we first heard about them. And I'm pretty sure they talked about the E1 and the C1 first. Let's see. They began work on the Crusader Spirit, which is progressing through the white box phase. The biggest challenge has been ensuring that the escape raft on the VIP variant is fully functional at this early stage. So they started with the E1. And then in January, I know they said something about it again too. Can you please move? Development of the Crusader Spirit continued which passed its white box review, with the A1 variant moving into the gray box. So yeah, they started out pulling ahead with the A1 pretty early. So I guess the signs were there. I just assumed that they would have caught up with the C1. But yeah, they, for whatever reason, made the A1 first. Using the Frozen Synapse soundtrack, that game was cool as heck. I don't know Frozen Synapse. Maybe this was used in it though? I got this from my service that does royalty-free music. It's alphabetical. Polaris as a thumbnail, that was defo clickbait for me. I mean, the Polaris is exciting, let's be honest, and you don't really get to hear about it too much, so I'm gonna throw it up there when it's there. But you just missed the Polaris news. We were just talking about it. It's going in the white box. They're getting some of the issues figured out with it from when they were doing some of the concepting work last year with this stuff at CitizenCon. So little changes, but it's a good sign for the ship overall. Huh. I guess whoever worked on Frozen Synapse must have had the rights to their music and put it on the service. Yeah, the cargo variant feels like it would be the base variant of the C1, you know? Like, hey, here's a ship with a room in the back you can put boxes in. Okay, now we'll work on the variant where you have to actually put bespoke bomb bays in it, but whatever, we'll get past that. It's not a big deal. Work on a new ship variant also continued, with the dashboard and cockpit receiving attention. The design team also resolved the placement of physicalized components ready for the art team to add at a later date. Another unannounced variant continued through its gray box phase 2. Look at that, unannounced variants. It's so weird when you're following Star Citizen monthly reports, right? And you get to the ship phase. Let's say monthly report June. I should just keep these up, honestly. So you're at the June 2023 monthly report, right? And you're in the art section of the ships. And you hear about the Tumbril Storm, the Santok Yai, and that's it. That was it. Last month in the art section, we heard about 2 ships. 2. I don't even think either of those are mentioned in this one. Yeah, the Tumbril Storm is here. Oh yeah, Santok Yai is here. So how many are they mentioning here? RSI Polaris, unannounced ship, that's 2. Another unannounced ship, that's 3. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. Unannounced. Okay, Polaris, unannounced is 2. Spirit is 3. Variant is 4. Another unannounced variant is 5. Tumbril Storm is 6. An all-new vehicle is 7. 2 new variants through the Lod 0 stage is 9. Aopoa Santok Yai is 10. Origin X1 is 11. They went from mentioning 2 vehicles to 11 in 1 month. Which I guess is just a sign of how often the people who are working on these vehicles maybe don't do work for an entire month, right? This might just mean that all of those vehicles that didn't get mentioned were just sitting by. And I think that's reading between the lines of these that offers some good insight. But again, reading in between the lines with Star Citizen stuff leads to disappointment at times. So take it with a grain of salt. Anyways, in the US, the Tumbril Storm approached the end of production. 3.20 maybe. We have built all damage meshes, they said, projected all UV2s, generated most LODs, and are now just polishing up various parts of the vehicle and the APBs. I just wanted another acronym. It didn't actually say APB. Sorry. Lighting is getting another pass, and we are working with the system's design to make most of them procedural so that they will respond to player interaction. So yeah, the storm's coming to us pretty soon. Variant would probably be the cutter. I think so. I think there's a good chance of that. More starter variants is good. More specialized ships in the sub $70 range. Not to say people should be buying those ships, just to categorize a class of ships I think that starters would be going for in the game. Having more ships in that range is always good. Well, maybe not always. Don't give us too many. Ranger would be cool. I'm really thinking that after these wheeled vehicle improvements we see, maybe the Ranger will come back into a possibility soon. Okay. Ship art also worked alongside tech art to solve visual issues with the treads. Super excited for that. Elsewhere, tasks were started for an all-new vehicle. The team began by breaking apart the concept and putting together an in-game preview while planning out the work required for the base and its variants. The current plan is to white box all the variants at the same time and then select which versions will move into gray box first. Okay, an all-new vehicle. Right? They didn't say this is an unannounced vehicle. It's in concept, so we've probably seen this in concept at some point, unless it's an internal concept. It has variants and a base model. What do you guys think? I'm going to show you what I think this is, but I'd like to hear some opinions. Oh yeah, the variant could also be the Fury. You're right. They did already show us that. Ranger, Galaxy. Keep in mind, guys, they called this a vehicle and not a ship. They do try to specify that kind of stuff. So up here they say unannounced ship. Where else do they say it? New ship variant. They use specific terminology, and here they're calling it a vehicle. I think this is the G12. Yeah. I think there's a good chance this could be the Origin G12 ground vehicle. It's not a for sure kind of thing because there are a lot of options this could be, but the G12 is a ground vehicle. It has been around for a while. We do have concept images of it, if I can find any of them. Jeez. I guess I don't have any. And it has variants. But that's also kind of wishful thinking because we haven't heard anything about this in a while. So this is the G12. It is kind of a luxury ground vehicle. Luxury in the sense it's got nicer materials. Could be the X1. It could be the X1, but the X1's been announced. I don't know if it was official. I guess it was official. They announced it in Star Citizen Live. They're working on it. G12 has a base model. The white one, I believe, is the base. Go to the website and see. Variants matrix. I guess they just call it touring. They don't call it base. So, I don't know. X1 is on the roadmap. Oh, they talk about the G12 by name? Hey, do they really? That's actually kind of surprising. Oh, the X1 you meant. Right. Indeed, Baldur's Gate 3. If it was the G12, you're sure it would be on the progress tracker? Are you sure? We know the progress tracker. Are you sure? Sometimes I like to think I would be. But yeah, it's not even on there yet. What other Atlas platform do we need? Maybe a size 7 gun. A mortar. They've sold the G12, so I wouldn't think of it as an unannounced vehicle. That's fair. Maybe it's not unannounced. Maybe this is an internal concept. I don't know. But we've got quite a few vehicles, and this is another one that they're working on. And they're getting into the gray box pretty quickly. 2 new variants went through the LOD 0 phase and are approaching content complete. This, once again, could be a number of things. The team also progressed through LOD 0 for the Aopoa Santakiai, filling out item housings and doing heavy paneling work on the exterior. They also came to a solution for the dashboard, yay! Which still requires polish, but delivers a unique aesthetic for interaction. They're currently working with the system design to get the ship's behaviors to trigger correctly. Can we look up the Santakiai? I don't even know how to... Do I spell that in these files? Oh, no. Oh, that's a lot of stuff I don't need popping up. There's a couple looks at the ship. If you don't know about the Santakiai, it's a pretty cool... Where the heck are all the rest of them? It's a pretty cool ship. It's an alien ship. It's got some interesting design quirks with its transformations and its cool shape and stuff. I thought I had more videos of this, but I'm not seeing them. Was the links on the progress tracker? I don't think it was until it was announced. They need to stop BSing and give us another system. Well, they're working on it. Trust me, I don't think they're BSing about that. I think they really, really, really would like that system to be out so they could stop talking about it. Finally, for ships, the Origin X1 entered the gray box stage while waiting on the white box review. The team are working to solve various aesthetic issues while ensuring the overall ship makes mechanical sense. They're also exploring new tools to help generate extremely clean automotive-style geometry to maintain the required Origin feel. Origin, the automotive company of the 2090s. Audio team. We really don't get many updates from the audio team. What do they have to say? July saw the audio team progressing with tasks for Pyro, including implementing imperative sounds. They also discussed how they can interrelate existing work. Oh, interrelate existing work with Squadron 42. I don't think I've actually heard that. Is that interrelate or interrelate? How am I going to get that? How am I going to know that from text? You're going to ask for pronunciation advice from a text chat. Come on, pronounce it. Say it. Oh, the volume's down.
Interrelate.
Interrelate. Why not just say that? Come on. Yay, English. Improvements were made to the flight experience, including updated vibration tech and impact. Ooh. Sound effects were also designed and implemented for upcoming spaceship releases. That's cool. Like interrelate? Yeah, but how do I not know that that's interrelate? Wait. Okay, I see you. Yay, learning! All right. Community stuff I generally pass over, but the community has been super active. Bar citizens, all bunch of fun. Anybody see themselves in this picture? Is anybody here? Shout out to you if you were. Or here is the recent virtual bar citizen, hosted by Soul Citizens, I believe. Your man Griffin up there in the corner, keeping it real. Anybody at this one? Shout out to anybody who got to get in here. I think they had, yeah, it looks like they had some CIG devs there, content creators, folks in the community, just solid hanging out. If you want to get more involved in Star Citizen, whether in the most civil way of just like talking to people on Discords, we have our own Discord server, !Discord. We'll send you there. A lot of friendly people there. You can talk about other games. We have channels for Starfield. Gosh, what we have channels for Starfield, tabletop games, Kerbal Space Program, Deep Rock Galactic, Satisfactory, just casual chatting and stuff. We've got plenty of options for folks to just hang out. But if you want to get even deeper into it, they host all kinds of meetups like this, both physical and digital, and obviously the convention later this year. So it's always there if you want it. All right, engine section. This is always kind of a rough part for me, but we'll do our best. The core engine team progressed with the development of StarBuild, the new in-house code build system that will replace WAF. I don't actually know what WAF is, but okay. Last month, they fixed issues and implemented improvements based on feedback from wider dev use. For Memory Play 2.0, the team introduced virtual memory areas as a concept to the memory allocation system, which will better track OS committed memory and provide an improved visualization of sub-allocations. WAF is CryEngine's build system. Okay. They are still scooping out the old CryEngine stuff. Pretty wild. Progress was then made on removing the remaining map and write discard calls in the renderer in preparation for the new Vulkan backend. They also reworked the game launcher code structure to reduce code duplications and enable Linux-based headless clients. Ooh! Which will help with automatic testing. Honestly, the headless clients are the best because they don't talk, you know? They're just there. The physics team continued... Wait, hold up. Just skip something. Core Engine also worked alongside the physics and vehicle teams in support of the Mist Hull C, ensuring it works correctly and fixing bugs with the ship's unique systems. Additionally, they fixed further fallout from the last integration and made various other bug fixes and optimizations. Still can't get off ladders in the middle because of CryEngine limitations. Is that why that is? That's kind of funny. The physics team continued helping the game teams fix various physics-related bugs in the game code. They also updated the new cloth system and Maelstrom and began improving active and animated ragdoll. See, right here, instead this should read, they also updated the new bedsheet deformation system and Maelstrom and began improving active and animated ragdolls. So Maelstrom, for anybody who doesn't know, is their procedural damage system. Seems like something that they've coined rather recently because we started hearing about it frequently and quickly. But this is meant to be damage on a very distinct level across a lot of objects in the game. Originally, this was pitched as being something that was more focused on ships. And God willing, I have an example of that here. But it doesn't look like it. This always happens to me. Please, please, please tell me you've got this file somewhere. Come on. And people call me organized. What is this? Ah, cool. The file is damaged. I guess that's poetic, considering I'm looking for a video about damage. The best I'm going to be able to do, guys, is if you see the damage on the side of the ship here, that's really all this is, but it's at such a deeper level, and I'm so frustrated that I swear I had this saved. I'm going to have to find this video clip at some point and make sure I save it back into this folder. But the damage system is a very, very in-depth thing they're trying to do. It steps up from soft death that we have right now. And it will affect buildings. It will affect ground vehicles, props, spaceships, weapons, everything in the game that we interact with will be able to take damage, and they've kind of stated it's all under this sort of Maelstrom system name. So I'm guessing they're folding in the damage that we originally expected with ships into this, but maybe not. Yeah, systemic damage. What about the RSI mining ship they had the community vote on? I haven't heard about it. Isn't Maelstrom supposed to be the physical damage system for ships. Yes. For all things. Ships too. If in the next 3 years the ship pipeline doesn't have substantial dent in it, we have to adapt a strict policy of if it's not flying, I'm not buying. That will get the point across. My best wishes to you. People have been trying to implement a system like that for years. Unfortunately, people will always buy, and ships will always not fly. But I do think that they need to make some progress in the pipeline, and I think I'm kind of seeing it. If there's one place where I'm not constantly thinking that progress is further along than it is, it's ships. For features, that tends to be true. For locations, for points of interest, I always get a little bit surprised at the pace. But for ships, they're pretty good. They took a long time to get that pipeline working. And since it's the thing that they've been developing the most for the longest, I think they're pretty good at it now. That and planets. Very good. All right. The Entity System team primarily supported various technical initiatives, including Rastar and the Resource Network. Rastar, we should be hearing about it inside Star Citizen. This involved exploring ways to create and limit generated locations to provide a rich experience without negatively impacting performance. They also supported the server meshing team by adding necessary improvements and fixes. And that's what we get to hear about server meshing. Finally, they provided bug fixes for the recently enabled async editor loading and are currently adding more safety checks for correct entity access. They're making progress on the backlog of ships. A lot of the ones left are the ones that still need more tech or are going to require a ton of work. It's a sour note for you mentioned 2 days ago. The amount of ships in concept and how long they have been is disappointing. It is true. I think there are some ships that should be out of concept. I think something like, for instance, the G12 we were looking at should be out of concept. I would say some of the smaller ships like the X1, I guess the F8 Lightning is something they're holding back on purpose. What would worry me about a lot of these ships that are in concept is if they were brought into the game to work with the game now, we would undoubtedly have to see them get reworked again like the Freelancer is getting right now, which slows them down. So like if they brought the Legionnaire into game right now because it was a concept, this is a ship that's supposed to be able to hack its way onto other ships. Who knows what they would have to redo when hacking actually gets into the game and they would have to like come in and make the ship work again. Yeah, the smaller ships I think are ones that should be getting in. The bigger, really specialized ones worry me, though. So you can also see when some of these ships come into the game new, they are working so much better than the older ones, and it's kind of nice. Be like, if you have a favorite ship, you kind of want to hope it takes a little longer. Any ship in concept for 4+ years doesn't have advanced mechanics for other gameplay should have been released by now. That's fair. Yeah, the F8 was never sold. All right, let's get to features, folks. Characters and weapons features team. This is where things get interesting. July saw the feature team experimenting with skill progression, which involves players performing specific in-game actions to make them better at similar activities. For example, building up strength will allow players to carry heavier objects with fewer penalties, while performing takedowns will open access to quicker and quieter action sets. And here's this is a big one for me. I'm interested in hearing what players think of this. I've asked a couple times in I made a post in Twitter. I wonder how that's going right now, actually. They don't call it Twitter anymore, but that's because they're just kind of weird about it. And yeah, I made a post here. It's got more comments than likes, so you can imagine the conversation is flowing. Put in your own perspective if you'd like to. But I've also put in... can I just like search my name like that? Nope, not Space Tomato 2. I've also put a post on YouTube if you want to check it out. and there's some conversation. It's got as many likes as comments. Literally, people like talking about this, and I think it's an important topic. This is a big change to the game coming in. They're adding a skill system that will allow your character to change independently of the player. Obviously, it would take the player doing things to change that character, but technically, you could buff up a character with the skill system and then hand it off to your friend, and they would benefit from those skills without having done the stuff. Either way, this is adding more investment into a character. This is going to be something that weighs in to Death of a Spaceman, which is kind of like the pseudo permadeath system going on here, where you die X amount of times before losing your character for good. They want us to feel a little bit more protective over losing our characters. From that perspective, I think this is great. But I also think this is becoming a bit of a anomaly. Because every feature that we've seen in Star Citizen, whether you think it's feature creep or not, I would say 90% of them get explained in some way. The physical damage system has been shown off in various ways over the last 10 years. Master modes might be very new, but we've had 2 or 3 videos on it now with hours worth of devs talking about it. The quantum economy, we've had multiple showcases to the point where people are kind of tired after hearing about it. Physical components, engineering gameplay, salvage gameplay, refining gameplay, Pyro system, outposts, AI, all these things add into Star Citizen, and they're pretty important. We haven't had a single sit down talk about this. They introduced it very abruptly at CitizenCon last year. They talked about it for a couple of minutes, and since then we haven't had a single formal update on this system, and it's a big change to the game. So it's really making me feel weird, because I'm like, this is they pride themselves on the open development. They pride themselves on the idea that they are sharing this stuff with us. We're giving feedback. They might choose to ignore it, but at least we have a better idea of what we're talking about. Right now, I feel like I'm shouting into the void about this system because I don't know how in-depth goes. I don't know what they have planned for this. I don't even know what they mean by, where is it? Building up strength. What does that mean? Am I going to the gym? Do I build up strength by lugging around an LMG? Like, they're being really hush-hush about this feature, but then they're also kind of dropping these updates in to let us know that we are full-on moving forward with this, and we don't really care what you guys think. And I don't know how I feel about that. Captain Tiki, thank you for the super chat over there on YouTube. Appreciate you. You just watched Salty Mike's and Burke's podcast. They talked about how you don't always hear from the lurkers, mostly hear negatives. We lurk, we watch, we enjoy. Thanks for making the workday more bearable. Thank you for watching. It's easy to forget that. You like roll through a Reddit thread, and you forget that for every comment, there's like 1,000 people reading and nodding along. So yeah, thanks for the comment. Thanks for the support, Tiki. Glad you've been enjoying it all. Tyrus in here with the membership. Join GII, folks. Hashtag join. 5x5 strong lifts. As long as I'm trying to do a clean and pull in my 5G ship flying through atmosphere, I'm like squatting as I'm flying down through atmosphere. I'm down for that, but let me know. Let me know. Wonder if SC will have the ability to use the new Assassin's Creed haptic suit. Have not heard of that. There are gyms in Orison. Why not have it like Crysuit change mode to strength? Well, see, that's how I've always understood this game. If you wanted to have an advantage, you needed to A, have the right equipment, the right ships, the right people with you, the right knowledge of the gameplay. It was like about collecting the infinity stones of yourself, you know? This complicates it. Doesn't take away from that, but it adds on to it in an interesting way. Frenchy Cad also there with the membership. Dude, you're at top support on YouTube? 10 months now, man. Thank you. Frenchie also helping out. Tyrus and Frenchie both helping out, keeping GII on the rails. Thank you all. Appreciate you. See, we're having an administrative meeting out there. I hope you guys are finding good funds and also advocating for hot chocolate at weekly meetings because we need good drinks. Anyways, so that's player skills. I'm not seeing too many opinions in chat about that, but that's my take. For player traversal, the team began implementing a sliding mechanic. If a player tries to crouch while sprinting, they will perform a short slide before entering the crouch stance. That's good, because if you've ever tried to crouch while sprinting in real life, it doesn't go well. So this is nice. The speed of the slide is determined by the starting speed of the player, and the distance may depend on factors such as the roughness or angle of the terrain and the skill ability that your character has unlocked. The player will automatically stop when reaching an obstacle, as the prime use case for this feature is to allow players to slide into cover. That last part was me. They're not actually going to change the distance that you slide based on your sliding skill level, but that's what I think of when I read about skill progression systems. I'm like, if I slide more, does that mean that my slide goes further than my friends? But slides are nice. It's a nice movement mechanic. It makes everything a lot smoother. Gameplay features. The gameplay features team continued their work on the new vehicle tractor beam, which will also bring improvements to the existing tractor beams. That's very good to hear. We need a little bit more robust design in the tractor beam stuff. July's tasks included first iterative test for core balancing and the UI. So first test for the tractor beam, wouldn't expect it till the end of this year. I hope we get an update on it though. We really need sprint reports in ISC again. Additionally, the team progressed with the resource network, which includes features like engineering, gameplay, and life support. That's just a small update, letting us know they're still working on it, not telling us about the progress on ships. I would love to know, though, from their perspective, how long it's going to take for all of the ships in game to get updated. Finally, they made improvements to mining for Alpha 3.20 based on community feedback. That's good, including updates to stability and predictability when mining. I look forward to seeing that kind of stuff. Nice little side update for 3.20. CIG always been trying to turn SC into D&D and to get players to care about the player character. Can't wait to find out that the skills are going to be like the ones in GTA. That's what it sounds like they are. Like San Andreas skills. I don't know though. I've never felt like they wanted, like, whenever I watch them talk about SC, it's always given me the impression that they don't want it to depend on the character. Or at least back in the day, they didn't. They always were like, yes, it's about you, it's about your skill, and you as a player, what you do, and all this stuff. Because I don't think they've talked about having player skills in the game until last year. I think maybe they hinted at it one time. Oh, is it like some glitching stuff, Lumberjack? You'll find people macro acting all over the place to build up character skills with the meat space sleep. Yeah, that's what that does lead to in some ways. Said from the beginning, they do not want SC to be an RPG. They always wanted player skill to matter. It's the idea I got from it. Maybe not so much anymore though. Finally, code work began for Reputation. Progression within Reputation scopes will give players discounts on various purchases, including items for fuel and repair. Mission features also picked up the Reputation-based hostility system, which will see NPC orgs more willing to attack those who have negative reputation with them, while providing benefits to those with positive standing. We went over this probably last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. This is good. Reputation really needs help, and we know that the mission features team took it over earlier this year. Having hostility-based reputation changes is big. Having rewards based on reputation is also big. You know, I said I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077, and I am flabbergasted at just the fact that there is no reputation system with the gangs whatsoever. Like, if you do a lot of work for a gang and you make friends with them and you have good dialogue with their members, you could go and do a mission down the street and they will shoot you on sight. And that drives me crazy in that game. So like, as basic as people say Star Citizen is kind of being, this alone, I think, makes that sort of relationship with factions a little bit better. Yeah, right now we only really get the reward updates, and they're, they're so-so. One thing on the character skill system, you had the impression this was for Squadron 42 for now. Are they confirming skill progression for Star Citizen? Yes. I also think this is probably a better system for Squadron. I think it makes a ton of sense for Squadron to have the skill system in there, but no, they're saying they want to apply it to Star Citizen as well. Ever played the tabletop? That's true to source. That's actually kind of funny. But also, like, I feel like they did not really stick to the tabletop for their game that much. Okay, on to the graphics section. Let's talk about ray tracing and stuff. Several new features were added to the global illumination system, including the initial implementation of temporal smoothing for screen space probes, which will produce more stable results at a lower cost. G-buffer support was also added to environment probes to provide a cheap scene representation for secondary light bounces. In addition, new debug modes were added alongside a new mechanism to gather lights for the GI system. And we know that they've already been working on the on a prototype for ray tracing. So global illumination is making progress. I'm surprised at how quickly it is. Very surprised. I thought this would be something that would come in well after Squadron, but I guess obviously they want to have it done for Squadron 42. A basic implementation of temporal super resolution was completed, which will continue to receive fixes and improvements as it's integrated into the graphics engine. AMD's memory allocation API was integrated into the Vulkan backend, improving the system's stability, streaming speeds, and buffer read times. A reduction in streaming and rendering dependencies has improved performance, and new parameters will allow the devs to modify the render graph's shader stage and ownership state. These features were added alongside ongoing bug fixes to visual regression tests with a focus on the render-to-texture system. Surprised we still hear about render-to-texture so much, but I guess it's used a lot. That's like if you get hailed by somebody in the game, like a security person or something, their camera shows up in your ship, that's render-to-texture. They're literally recording something that's going on somewhere else in the game and displaying it to you. It's an expensive process. Not one they use very often, but it is a cool effect. Screen space reflection is a great way to add environmental detail and realism. Oh, that's good. I like detail and realism. I'm happy to hear about that. As part of ongoing UI refinements and unifications, the silhouette/highlight feature is currently being improved with a softer and brighter outer glow. The minimap also received a ping effect, which will blink around objectives for improved in-game navigation. We're getting a full-on minimap. I don't know how I feel about a always active minimap. This isn't talking about the feature set of it. So we'll see. They're really treading a line here of like, we want to make this a game that makes you think hard about everything you're doing, but we also don't want to scare players away. I think this is referring to the actual minimap they're building, because they've talked about that in monthly reports a couple times. I think down here, I don't know if they mention it here. Building blocks, internal map, no. They've talked about the minimap a couple times. It's something the UI team is working on. And I have some previs footage of the HUD update here where you can catch the minimap very briefly. Yo, what is wrong with, like... I just don't name things very well. Nope, 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 not that one. Right here. Nope, not that one either. This one. So up here in the corner, you can see they have a mini map. It's planned out. They have emissions, they have the compass, they have objective marker, and they have a mini map. So I do think that's what they're referring to. What I'm hoping, though, is that mini map is only available if you have a certain type of helmet or something. When you've got a helmet on. I mean, I guess if it's standard for every helmet, that's not a big deal. Sure, there was a mention a little while back about how the minimap would be explorative, so you don't just get a magic map of cave, that kind of thing. I do believe you have to discover the actual points, and I think that should probably tie in with how data is transferred and shared. I think having a minimap, having no minimap by default makes more sense. But I do want to see the ability to have one. Spirit of Fear, thanks for the Prime sub. You are appreciated. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Then again, let's see how they implement a minimap. Maybe it'll be nice. Maybe it'll be good. I just really like the idea of working for my advantages, you know? Doesn't have to be anything too crazy. Just grab a minimap when I'm grabbing my multi-tool. Little component that you lock into your helmet or something. Either way, the feature team is also working to bring the new unified water shader to the game, adding details such as puddles that splash on impact and fixing collision detection issues on large water volumes. A new system to manage water simulations is also in progress that will activate regions upon a collision, deactivate them when they have settled, and constantly monitor and protect performance by limiting active simulations. Getting some deep water stuff going on here, huh? Meanwhile, a new hash map system for allocating water buffer regions and large surface area friendly water volumes is actively being worked on, so the new unified water buffer system can be enabled by default. This is just, they're just really building out a water simulation. We've seen, weirdly enough, in the progress tracker that they have boat parameters planned. I would assume that's Squadron 42 stuff. Maybe it'll end up coming to Star Citizen at some point. But we do have water in the game. We have rivers, we have lakes, we have oceans, we have seas. And they don't really react to ships or anything. They do look weird because you don't, like, nothing actually works with them. So a water simulation makes sense. Having a map for all the cities would be nice. Yeah, a little mini map. I think it would be really cool if when you arrived at the city, they made a point, ATC made a point of, hey, I'm sending you the data for our city so you can see your way around. Sorry, it's all empty because I don't have the data, but as you go around, you'll populate it yourself. Like, build that understanding of how the mechanic works into the lore. All right, the World Builder system saw a variety of improvements last month, including a major refactor to the high-level logic that runs background jobs, which should significantly reduce latency, avoid stalls, and simplify the code. In addition, Planet Ocean patches no longer render in duplicates, and the Planet streaming system was fixed for Gen 12. The VFX programming team fixed issues impacting damaged maps. Attaching objects now correctly updates their damage maps, and an issue causing unexpected data to appear in snapshots is being investigated. For VFX specific work, an issue preventing grouped child effects from spawning correctly was addressed, and bugs on separator tags and external referencing were fixed. Those grouped childs. 890 jump finally gonna be a boat. 890 jump would be fun to watch somebody take it out on the water and only use the thrusters to get around. All right, in-game branding team last month continued building various assets for an upcoming event and worked alongside locations on navigational signage for New Babbage. Believe this is probably where the next new players tutorial is going to be. So if you like Microtech and I don't know, for whatever reason you like it but haven't played the game, maybe that would be a place to start. I don't think it'll be 320, but hopefully the patch following that. ISC today is about Rastar and underground facilities. In-game branding also began working on underground facilities. Look at that. Working closely with the concept and sandbox teams on different mock-ups for the commercial lobbies. So we're getting to the point now where underground facilities have gotten far enough in art and design that the branding teams are starting to work on it. That is not necessarily polished work, but that's latter half of work. And I believe these underground facilities started in November of last year. So I don't know, maybe we won't, I mean, it's very possible we won't see them this year if Pyro doesn't come in this year, but they definitely sound like they're getting close to ready. No more than a year and a half, I would say, from when they were revealed to when they're being launched. And while not the greatest timeline, I do think that's held back in part by Pyro and 4.0, but it's better than the 2 to 5 years people were guessing at when they first showed them. Don't know when you started to think this new underground facility were able to be in Stanton instead of Pyro. I want to say it wasn't underground facilities, but definitely the new outposts that they were building for Pyro. They made it sound like they could be in Stanton. And I think they still could be in Stanton, but maybe they want to wait and make a splash with them in Pyro first. All right, interactables. Oh, progress was made on the final touch-ups for Pyro 2. Final touch-ups for branding is good to hear. Okay, interactables. Altazar, first time in chat. Welcome. Welcome. Hope you're enjoying. July saw the interactables team close out and polish their work on Pyro's consumables and shop and prop content. They also created content for subscriber Flare. So they're also closing out their work. Interactables are closing out and polishing in Pyro. In-game branding is closing out and polishing in Pyro. What was it? What did they say in audio? Audio is just progressing, not really closing things out. The lighting team polished and cleaned up various locations around Pyro. So the lighting team's also polishing on Pyro and worked on the system's gas clouds. Back in Stanton, they progressed with tasks for Crusader's new platforms. How's the locations team doing? The locations team continued to work on Pyro's rundown stations. Okay, this is the second time they've talked about rundown stations instead of ruined stations. So I'm guessing that's what they're going to start calling our, what we call derelict stations, which we've seen plenty of. We've seen them in development quite a bit. I'm guessing they'll use a lot of the same assets that are in ruined station. That just makes sense, but rundown stations are meant to be kind of like the rest stops we have now. You can kind of recognize this, but obviously, like they said, rundown. It's not a pretty place. It's not a enjoyable place. It's kind of a place that you go out of necessity and you make the best you can out of being there. They've got different setups for who's living there, who's working there, how you're eating there, what your sort of reasons for going there are. These rundown stations are meant to be some of them are going to be very creepy. Some of them will be more hostile. There will be some exploration mechanics involved with them and stuff. So there's a lot going into differentiating these space stations from the ones we have now. And about a month ago, we did a pretty hefty look into these stations on stream here. It's on the second channel if you want to check it out. But we talked about how they're building out the different archetypes. And this seems to be kind of in the colonialism section of space stations they're working on. Wopsturk, how you doing? Would I recommend that you wait till a ship sale, or should you just upgrade to the Cutlass Black now? I don't think the Cutlass Black will be any more affordable at that point. So if you really do want to go in and get that ship, doesn't hurt to do it now, but never hurts to also wait and think about it more. UGFs are being designed for both use in Pyro, Stanton, and beyond. They probably are. We'll probably see them in Stanton. It would make sense with the commercial lobbies that they're working on and stuff. Those wouldn't be in Pyro. Are they giving out trash cans as flair? I hope. Pretty sure they are doing this to get ahead of Starfield. Hopefully they started. Hopefully Starfield will bring them to their senses. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that absolutely nothing that they're doing in development right now would be a reaction to Starfield. I just don't think that really computes in my opinion. I don't think that they need to worry about changing things based on Starfield. They've known about Starfield for quite some time, and they've had a lot of time to change things if they wanted to and prep for that, but they're working on such a longer timeline than that. Like, if they made a big change right now to combat something being done with Starfield, there's a high chance of regret for that 2 years from now when Starfield is talking about a DLC maybe, and Star Citizen is still working on building their game and have made substantial changes for a game that's not really competing. You're triggered by the last 6 months of progress, low-key thinking about selling your ships and waiting for a better state of the game. I would, and honestly, if you're not feeling it, I wouldn't say sell your ships. Because if you sell your ships and wait for a better state of the game, when that better state comes around, you might end up rebuying those ships for more money or something. I would definitely say, though, that like it's worth taking a step back if you're not enjoying what's going on right now. Pyro only had a ruin station. It would have been interesting to only have one station for Pyro, but I can see why. They've talked about it having its own stations, but not nearly as many as somewhere like Stanton. Need a clock for XX time since last Starfield comment. Starfield is about to be released. It is. So getting ahead isn't an option. Fair. The issue with more points of interest is server meshing. Yeah. Which is why we haven't seen them come into the game in a big way. Guess you'll leave your investment, hope for the best. Thank you for the reply suggestion. Appreciate it. No problem. If you, if you want to expand more on that, like if you're looking for something in particular or why the development in the last 6 months has made you pained, I can maybe give you a suggestion on when to consider getting stuck back into things. Pyro does have more planets than Stanton, yeah. It's also a much bigger system. All right, back to locations. Where were we? Underground facilities. Is that where we were? Sandbox team progressed with outposts for Pyro and continued their extensive work on the updated underground facilities. And improvements were made to Pyro's planets. New technology for clouds was looked into. New technology for clouds. Ooh, yay. But Pyro isn't coming out very soon. Yeah, we have no idea when that's coming. You're going to wait for my review on Starfield before you make a purchase? That might take me a little while. Not going to lie. I think I'm probably going to take a few weeks to review that game. Probably won't get a review out until like October because I want to get stuck into it, you know? When Chris says 4.0 came out today, come back till then, have fun playing something else. Honestly, I would say don't even come back then. Day one of 4.0 coming out is probably not going to be a good time. What's up, everybody coming into chat? Welcome. Would big ships be needed for Pyro? What's your thoughts? I don't think so. I think we just need refueling ships for Pyro, which is why they tried to push that in pretty quickly. We did get a cloud update with Lorville 2.0. They'll keep updating it. We'll see cloud updates probably every year or two until they get to a point they like them. Do I think the larger systems will prompt a rework of the distances or fuel efficiency of some of the quantum drives, or just keep them the same and we'll need to adapt by choosing different drives? The drives will change. Quantum travel drives, the components, they'll have to rebalance them a lot as they add in new systems and change the gameplay up. Do they update or change a list of ships for sale regularly, or is it always the same ships? Most ships aren't for sale at all times. So you'd have to wait for something like IAE in November. This is a big event where you'll have like a week or two to buy ships. We need quantum mode. They showed us where you do it manually too. Yeah, quantum boost would be great. All right, so that was locations from the EU side. Let's do locations from Montreal. Montreal, who does just such great work. I love them. In July, Montreal's locations team progressed with additional derelict settlements, which passed Grey Box before moving into the final phase. Progress was made on underground facilities, too. Okay. Yeah, we're getting there. They've, gosh, so much work going into these locations. Once the above content is delivered, the team will return to the ongoing building interior mandate. Okay. So they are on pause on building interiors. That's good to know. Expect that to reflect soon. What is this I'm looking at a picture of? This is an underground facility? It looks like it might be an area in an underground facility somewhere. Just judging by these handrails and kind of some of the construction here. It looks rather industrial. Doesn't quite look like a space station. Looks a little small for the space stations we have. How do you reduce stream delay? I think YouTube has a better... It's more up to date than Twitch. I usually just refresh the page though, and that catches me up on Twitch. Alright, once... Oh, we already read that. Above content, all that jazz. This is definitely an underground facility. This is the corporate lobby that they've been talking about for underground facilities. You can kind of tell from the architecture over here. Like if I pull it up, you'll see something very similar to that from the gray box stuff that they showed us at the beginning of this year. I'm pulling up the footage. It just takes forever. Man, it really takes forever. All right, so yeah, if you look at this video, yeah, you can kind of see like, you see this architecture out here? It's almost an exact match, right? So we're probably actually looking at a room like this. Because we got you got the desk, the chairs, the window outside. Yeah, it looks kind of like a reception area. This is the same lamp right there. Look at that. Very similar lamp. So this is a newer version of the corporate lobby areas for the new underground facilities. They've clearly stepped it up on art, and the locations are coming along, looks like. You just hope underground facilities are not always the same. Seems like they're pushing for it to be a little more diverse. Maybe a refinery? Maybe. Martin, how you doing? All right, narrative team. Give me that narrative. Last month, narrative continued syncing with the various design teams to push development on Pyro, specifically focusing on mission content. Local mission providers Wait, I'm sorry. Specifically focusing on mission content, local mission providers, and examining how the overall mission system will change when the new system is added. Establishing the tone and voice of how missions will be presented. So they are stepping back into mission givers in a big way this year, which is wonderful to hear because they haven't really worked on them for 3 years now. They almost don't even function anymore. Is there only one solar system? Can I be a jerk and say yes because it's our star system? Because solar? There's only one star system in the game right now, though, yeah. Sorry. A little trolling there. Elsewhere, the team supported... Oh. To answer that last one, it's led to some interesting discussions about missions that cross over from Stanton to Pyro and vice versa. That's always good to hear. Elsewhere, the team supported the MISC Hull C by implementing the latest version of the air traffic control behavior, which will allow players to request a landing spot to load and offload their cargo. This also led to resurrecting work on the overarching ATC behavior, with some potentially exciting updates that will be discussed in the near future. ATC is annoying. They've had to rework ATC for server meshing, but it's just it takes a lot of work. Like, you think that this system where you just call it and they give you a landing spot is not a big deal, but they have to do so much work on this system. I guess because landing is actually like figuring out where you're going to land and having all that synced up and everything. It's harder than it sounds. Game development, right? The narrative team is also expanding to include 2 dedicated narrative designers who will bridge the gaps between narrative design and AI. They will look at all NPCs from mission givers to population characters and refine their behaviors to make them feel more alive and ultimately establish the tone and flavor of the game's various locations. These are very good things. For example, to make the people of Hurston feel distinct from the people of Orison. This is freaking... Oh, that's so important. It's so important. It's such a big part of why none of these cities feel truly distinct. Hurston is supposed to be a place where you're walking around the street and you're looking at shifty characters on the side that you think are going to beat you up because they want to steal your fare for the taxi or something. Are the taxis? I don't know. Like, Hurston's supposed to feel unsafe. Microtech is supposed to feel very techy, and I think they actually kind of hit that. But having people who are in this game dedicated to making sure that the narrative matches the lore, matches the AI, matches the gameplay, matches the atmosphere is one of the bigger complaints I think there is when it comes to the cities in the game. They all feel the same though, all full of cultists standing in weird places and staring in the same direction. Exactly. This is I think going to help that, besides the fact that that's partially a server problem. Yeah, Microtech and Crusader both were kind of designed with that stuff in mind, so they're a little bit better for it. But Loreville and ArcCorp could definitely use some updated AI stuff. All right, and then on the website, they just talked about releasing some of that new lore news. Hey, whoa! Jesus. Mrs. Tomato in here with a Nerf gun. It's not even Wednesday, all right? Get out of here. I only get shot on Wednesdays. Online services from the Montreal side of things. Online services team spent July further refining the new inventory ID feature and addressing issues that came up during the formal QA testing pass. Time was also spent working on a plan to refactor several of the back-end services to gRPC, as well as modernize them with new features. This was a big changeover that CIG decided to do last year. They changed their programming for certain back-end services over to an open-sourced model supported by Google, I believe, because of efficiency, because it was already made, and they didn't want to have to redo this stuff all themselves. Since Google was already providing the solution, they went with it. So it sounds like they're putting that plan to refactor it with that language into practice, and it's starting up in Montreal. Lastly, they researched easy anti-cheat sanctions and enforcement. Easy anti-cheat. People hate that service, right? She got a taste for the criminal life? Please. If that was only a taste for her, you should see how she plays Red Dead Redemption. I was watching her yesterday, and she'll be like riding her horse down the path, and you'll hear some random person off to the side They'll just be like, what are you looking at? You know, the game is like trying to prompt you. And she will, without hesitation, turn over to them, pull out her pistol, and shoot them in the head. And then somebody will witness the crime and try and go report it. And she gets on her horse and she's like, I can't let them tell on me. They won't stop me. I love her. Orison turned out to be the most unsafe city since Ninetales are always trying to burn it down. Honestly, Crusader needs to do something about Ninetales. They've got a problem. Like, those people just have an asteroid out there floating around their planet, throwing down pirate raids on, like, their central city. And Crusader's like, yeah, all civilians in the area, can you come help us shoot these bad guys? What are you doing, Crusader? True RDR player, right. I imagine Red Dead Online would have gone well. What, you don't like the AI-like real behavior of people standing on tables? I only appreciate that if I can shoot them. You can't even make them get off the table. People just do that in the future. Wonder when we will see more cities on Crusader. Whoa, friend. Whoa there. For people who are wondering, there are planets with multiple landing zones. So we will have a couple where there are multiple cities. Imagine those planets are going to take a lot longer. Terra Prime is one of them, I believe. Obviously, Earth is one of them. And I think there are a few others. Maybe one or two others. But mostly we're going to get like towns. We'll probably get built out underground facilities and stuff that connects to feel like a city, but not be a city at the scale of something like Lorville. A raid type mission on a large Ninetales facility would be dope. Well, imagine now they have these new retrieve consignment missions where you go kill people, take their data, and then steal the boxes that correlate to that data. They could just retheme that, throw it in a small underground facility in Stanton somewhere and be like, this is one of Ninetales' home bases. We need to keep it assaulted so they can't build up too many forces there. Make that a mission. Easy peasy. I say easy peasy. Is there any very large, immense space station in lore? Immense, how so? Ruin Station's pretty big. Is that large enough? There's also the Spider, which is a connection of tons of different spaceships together, which kind of acts as a space station on its own. And there is Synth World, which is a... what do they call them? Dyson Sphere. They're trying to create a Dyson Sphere in Star Citizen lore, but they're not doing a very good job at it. But I've got a view here. This kind of gives you an idea of how big Ruin Station is. So, like, if this is the size of a javelin, you can imagine the space station itself is pretty dang big, right? Because we can also look up how big a javelin looks next to other things. Let's say... I actually don't have many videos of javelins. Huh. Yeah, I don't have anything that really shows the scale of a javelin, but from that video clip you can kind of tell how big Ruin Station is. Oh, it's a synth world. Yeah, Dyson Sphere is when you put the hollow inside, right? Encases the sun. Right, thank you. It's called a synth world, right? I wonder what they've named it. I don't remember what they named it. I thought that was their name for it. The Connie is the size of one of the main guns. Yeah, the javelin's huge. It's big, so take with that what you will about the size of Ruin Station, but I'm sure we're going to see things bigger in the future. I think it'd be really cool if they made the big space station that's orbiting around Terra Prime the starting location for all players. You load in Terra, it's safe, it's collected, tons of information, tons of hand-holding. Make that space station really, really big, and then call it Port Olisar. Javelin is 480 meters long, almost half a kilometer long. So, there you go. Just want to see how big a king ship is. Oh boy. A space station with an elevator like in Foundation. Yeah, so we can blow it up. Yes, terrorism. Space terrorism. Xenothreat. Ah. All right, where were we? Research and development. Oh. We love this section because we kind of know what it's saying and we kind of don't. In July, further updates were made to atmosphere and volumetric cloud rendering. Guide sampling used in the Cloud Raymarcher was updated based on last month's improvements to transmittance profiles. Those transmittance profiles, they'll tell you your future. Love those things. The profiles themselves received additional filtering, stochastic resampling, to reduce occasional block artifacts due to profile reuse. Wait a second. Occasional block artifacts. Does that sound familiar? Is this what I think it is? Moreover, the temporal render mode currently being developed for atmosphere and volumetric clouds was switched to a low discrepancy based sequence of sample offsets that are used to set up arrays for ray marching over time. Based on recent research publications, wow, they are going into some new technology for this, huh? Cloud shadow maps can now be stochastically filtered, which considerably improves performance and render quality. The new temporal render mode will use stochastic texture filter by default. My friends, is this referring to the blocky artifacts that you see on the fringes of clouds? Have they found a way to reduce that? Man, is anybody in here a transmittance profile stochastic resampling Raymarcher developer of sorts? Microsoft Flight Simulator team did some publishing about their cloud rendering stuff. I know that they had this problem with their clouds, and apparently they did a better job at, like, they were able to kind of make it not such a big deal. I really, really hope this is talking about those artifacts around clouds because they look amazing. Really, there are just some artifacts that make clouds look a little bit weird. But for the most part, they look great, and I'd love if this meant that they were going to see some improvements. You feel sorry for people who own javelins? They have no idea the burden they have taken on. Dude. Trying to run a ship that's half a kilometer long. Like, we don't even know how much of a pain that's going to be. We don't have engineering yet, guys. We could get engineering in this game, and suddenly it is a pain to keep a 600i running, right? I don't think it will be, because that's like a 2 to 3 person ship. But you get the idea. Engineering is going to make big ships more difficult. Your big ship is cursed. That's the, that dog's taking a walk again right now, guys. You can hear it. That's the kicker with this game. Big ships are kind of cursed. I think a lot of players are going to prefer to fly in small ships after everything is said and done, because it's not even just engineering you have to think about. You're going to have to think about NPC crew or getting AI blades. Those are going to cost money. You're going to have to think about ship storage costs, fuel costs, component costs. You have to consider the fact that control surfaces and the heat system are going to change how we fly in atmosphere. Larger ships are going to have a hard time staying still in atmosphere and stuff. Like, man, there's a lot that's still going to go into complicating large ships. The fact that they have specified that they don't want to get capital class ships into the game until they have capital class gameplay further along, I think kind of goes to show that they are planning on that being sort of a different way of understanding how the game works. When you go from playing in these smaller ships we're playing in right now to capital class ships, you have to change the way that you think about Star Citizen being played. It's less about just flying straight to a place and more about like facilitating the journey to that place. And that might be a big surprise for people who jumped into Star Citizen a little later. Getting 10 people together might be difficult, but some orgs do this very well, actually. It is going to be... Those very, very large ships, like the Idris and the Javelin, are going to be probably more org and large group ships. I think your average ship flying around is going to be something like a hull series, honestly. A multi-crewed hull series, a hull C with 2 or 3 people on it, or a hammerhead with 4 or 5 people on it. Like... large, but not too large ships, you know? Ships that make sense for 3 to 4 hours at a time. An Idris or Javelin, I would imagine you're taking that out for a day, days on end. But, you know, we could talk about it all we want. Like I said, we don't really know everything about capital ship gameplay. They don't even probably know about it. And that makes some people incredibly nervous. Which I understand. You think 3 to 6 player multi-crew ships will be the norm? I think that's a good sweet spot. I'm personally hoping that we settle in on like the meta choice for spaceships being around 50 to 70 meters, 40 to 70 meters. I think that's a great size. Give me my 70 meter Serenity and let me fly like a leaf on the wind without the death part, without getting stabbed in my chair, please. UI. The UI team made improvements to the data heist screen throughout July, which involved working closely with mission features. What is a data heist screen? God, Tommy. I don't know, that kind of worries me a little bit. Nah, no, that's fine. I would really, really hope I have my fingers crossed so hard, so hard, guys, they're almost broken, that this data heist mission they've been talking about, and they have been talking it up. They mentioned it on monthly reports. They've talked about it in ISC. We've seen it in the progress tracker. I really hope this is tying into at least either data gameplay or hacking gameplay. Because if they're building out a mission that uses hacking and doesn't actually use hacking gameplay, oh, it's going to feel like lessons might have been missed. I mean, whatever reason they did that for, I'm not going to be the one to sit here and say they shouldn't, because I don't actually know what's going on with them. But I would really hope, with how they've been talking about missions and development of features and stuff, that if they're building a mission around hacking, they would incorporate hacking so that they don't have to redo the mission later with hacking, you know? But they're not talking about hacking. So I don't know. Push the left button to hack. I really hope not. Originally, when they started talking about hacking, about 3 years ago, they had some very cool concepts planned for it. It was going to be a sort of a, almost like a Pac-Man kind of thing. You would be in a digital, graphically represented space, and you would have to move your way around this space, avoiding the bots in the system that are meant to defend against you. Where the and trying to take out certain parts of the system to disable whatever it is that you are hacking. But they ultimately decided this was not the way they wanted to go about it, and instead they wanted to make it, you are picking lines of code and inserting them into a script in a certain way to make a computer do something that you needed it to do. So give you access to something, open a door, whatever. You have to pick the right line of code and put it into the actual script. And I think that's the method they're working through, but we haven't had an update in a while. This was that old sort of Pac-Man looking style. They did a previs for it. This is a conceptual picture, but it gives you an idea of what it was supposed to look like. Pulls up this sort of 3D space, and as you can see, there are little pathways here that you can move around. You've got these sort of like antivirus programs, I guess, that would be going around, kind of like the monsters in Pac-Man, and you'd basically be just trying to, I guess, link one side of this to another, and that would complete whatever it is you're trying to do. But I think that the method they're talking about now with the actual code placing in sounds a little bit more interesting and more scalable. Isn't hacking now part of engineering gameplay, remote control into ship systems? I don't think they've said that it's part of engineering, but I think it factors into it. How long has it been? Because you think they're going to keep putting it on the back. Oh, you talking about the Banu? Just another example of them putting the carriage before the horse. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, unfortunately. Of them redoing the hacking game. Oh, putting these missions in without hacking, right? Yeah, I hope not. The model they were looking at did look a lot like Deus Ex. Okay, let's continue with UI. The team also continued adding new features to bindings and building blocks, including a color picker, pagination widget, and stepped lines for the designers. This is a color picker for designers. They do say that we would be able to change our HUDs at some point, but I do not believe that's what they're talking about here. Finally, UI worked alongside graphics to develop a new internal map system to help players navigate the game's complex cities, planets, and capital ships. And they had to say this will be a real game changer for players. We're really excited for its progress. No kidding, it'll be a game changer. We'll be able to see what the heck is actually going on. This is another feature. This kind of goes in with the mini map for me. I am very keen on how they're going to do this, because they mentioned that it will be an internal map, but then they mention planets. Now, we know how capital ships work. We've already seen this. This is the map system. It basically takes the ships they already have built in game, applies a different shader to them to make them a wireframe like this, and then renders them down really small so you can see a holographic view of whatever ship you're trying to get on or access or use. My personal hopes is that they do this exact same thing with caves, but instead of using the obvious ships like layout that they already have to show us, they let us scan the caves. Allow us to go in there, survey the cave, get the data, sell it to people, and whoever gets that data can then see these maps. And if you don't know anybody who's an explorer who has gone through that cave, if you haven't gone to the local shop where they have all of the maps for the system, if you haven't acquired this data on a data pad, in a loot box, or something, you don't have the cave mapped out. And I think that opens... Oh, God, that would be so freaking good for exploration gameplay. Like, I really, really hope that's what they do. Because there's a lot of things in this game that you can scan. And there are a lot of reasons for that scan data to not make it to somebody, you know? It'd be, in my opinion, it'd be better if every person in the game had to personally figure out how to get that map, rather than everyone in the game just automatically having a mini map that displays the cave that they're in, you know? So, I'm excited for this. The map system looks really cool. I'm glad that it's going to help with cities and planets. They've mentioned caves briefly, but I'm still looking more for some information on how this will be implemented. And that's the case for a lot of these things. They're working on so many things that we're not hearing about right now, besides monthly reports. And monthly reports just don't give us enough, you know? Like, how many times during this report have I said, can't wait to hear more about that? Yeah, I'm thinking exactly like what they did in Prometheus. Exploration is very dry right now. Isn't there an agency in lore that will buy and sell map data? I bet. Like a cartographer's guild or something like that. Think that would finally start the exploration loop. Yeah, sharing data. Give it to us, please, Gib. Could you lift a player's map data from their mobiGlass if you take them down? Might be another motivation. Yeah, maybe if you hacked into it or something. Data as a commodity itself is... I don't think I've played a game that does that. Do you guys know of a game where the actual data in the game is something that can be bought and traded and sold? because the possibilities with something like that I think are really cool. But they're a little bit cagey on how far they want to go with it. Going to be where all the money is. I hope so. That's what I'm interested in. Exploration and data brokering. That's my jam. Why I got the MSR. Exactly. All right. The final segment here is VFX. Last month, the VFX team continued working on the interiors and exteriors of several Pyro locations. The visual style of these locations differs greatly from many Stanton-based locations, which has been a welcome challenge for the VFX artists, both technically and artistically, and probably also a breath of fresh air. They also completed their VFX pass on a size 5 bomb and 3 upcoming vehicles. Okay, that's actually... There's confirmation on what we were talking about earlier with the A1. So they're still working on the size 5 bomb. They actually have to do additional work for the bombs in the A1. So there's got to be some good reason they chose the A1 over the C1 if it still requires more assets to be worked on than just a cargo bay. I don't know. It's such an interesting situation. Not a big deal, but I really would like, that's one of those things that I wish I was a fly on the wall to hear their thinking on that. Extreme Terror add a gameplay loop that instead of taking down comms, you can get every player location info within the range of that comm. Ooh. Yeah, you can hack the comm array instead of taking it down. See, those, oh, the possibilities around data. I hope they focus hard on that. Like, I hope after we get the other stuff, we get the bounty hunting, the cargo hauling, salvage and mining are going well. Combat is obviously up and in the air. Mission givers are in the game. Pyro is good. We're doing, you know, like all of that is stuff that's mostly in the game, just needs to be more available. After that stuff is done, I really hope they double down on like, hey, we are now going to introduce cargo. This is an entirely different segment of the game for you guys, or not cargo, sorry, data. Because data running on its own is cool, but data management, being able to trade data with other people, being able to go to a place, get the atmospheric conditions of that place, and then go somewhere else and give them to your friend because you know they're going to go there soon is just like super tangible. It's one of those things that makes you really feel like you're living in the game. Razy, thank you for the sub, mate. Appreciate you. Kind of hope they switch the rental for the C1 from the Cutlass Black to the A1. Maybe they're hoping that you switch to the A1 and pay that extra couple bucks. There's only one data running ship, the Drake Herald. So that's another thing. If we view data as another commodity, yeah, the MSR is also a data runner. If we view data as another commodity, in my opinion, that shouldn't mean you need a data runner to run data, right? You don't need a cargo ship to carry boxes to your friend. Like, everyone can do a basic cargo mission, box delivery mission. I think everyone should also be able to do basic scan and delivery mission. You should be able to go out in your Aurora, scan 20 different rocks on a moon, get the data that they are there, what they contain, all that stuff, and then go back to a station and turn it into the refinery deck and get paid for it, right? Like, you get these missions where pirates are like, oh, we left some trash in an outpost. Can you please pick that up and take it? All I would want is Crusader Security hits me up and says, hey, there's a Ninetails convoy out near Yella. We don't know what it is, and we're looking for scanners in the area to help us get eyes on target. They're not asking for you to blow them up or attack them, which you can do. They're just asking for you to go get scan readings on them, turn it into the station, and they pay you 15,000 UEs for your work. Super basic, very simple data missions. And then if you want to get deeper into it, like you would with the Hull C with cargo, you get an MSR, because now you're trying to store terabytes of data, or you're trying to intercept transmissions, or you're trying to, I don't know, hack into other ships, whatever that might be. What exactly is data running? It's a good question, Razy. Thanks for the sub, by the way, for gifting that out. But we don't really know. If you can't physically go to CitizenCon, will there be a digital ticket? They do the digital goodie stuff. I don't no, you're not going to have to buy a ticket to get the digital goodies. I wouldn't worry about that. There are only 2 data running ships, while other categories get more than 2. What? Well, that's because we don't have data running in the game yet. There's only 2 salvage ships, too. Yeah, scouting. They make sensors, have custom signature settings you can change for different tasks. And they've confirmed that. They have. Because they mentioned that the MSR would have... in fact, why don't we check that out real quick? They mentioned the MSR would have scanners that are meant for communications. But like your prospector might have a scanner that's meant for resources. So what are the differences in scanning between a ship like the Terrapin and the Mercury? Are they similar enough that the Mercury can be fitted to perform a Terrapin's role equally? Dedicated scanning ships or ships equipped with dedicated scanners are built around that gameplay, which is not what the Mercury is built for. What the heck? The Mercury... Oh, God dang it. The Mercury scanners are only good enough to intercept local communications rather than scanning of unknown areas or picking up low signatures at distance like the Terrapin can. The Terrapin, when crewed effectively, will always surpass the Mercury in terms of scanning efficiency. Think of the Mercury as a hybrid cargo ship between freight and data. So they've got some nuance built into that gameplay as well, just in terms of the design. And I guess in the same way that one ship might have a bigger tractor beam than another that can do more, or one ship might have distortion guns as opposed to another with ballistics, you component your ship up for what you're ready for. Wouldn't we get a new mining ship last year? We could vote for the... Okay. Clearly this page doesn't want to run. Can you just sit still, please? Probably not. Your question is, how would the speed benefits of these ships play in? If they're doing data running, you mean? Likely being able to outrun their targets. Yeah, do you mean their quantum travel speed? Their regular flight speed? Oh, Christian also has a good point there. I think it would be really good if systems... Oh my God, these dogs. Okay, I'm gonna close my window. It's so hot in here. All right, so you know how we were talking about you go to a system, you check in with like the local maps, the cartography guild, whatever you want to call it, and they give you the updated maps? I think that should be the case for data running as well. If you're in Stanton, you cannot get live updates for the data in... Yeah, no, it's very loud for me because I can not only hear them in real time, I also have a monitor going through my mic so I can hear my voice again. So I hear the barks twice and it's very distracting. I also get distracted super easily, as you can see right now. I'm literally doing it as we speak. I'm sorry. A data runner would need to go from Stanton to Pyro to report into the Pyro system that like Stanton needs food or something. You wouldn't be able to get a mission from Pyro until a data runner brings that data into the other system. I think that'd be a nice little complication there too. How does the ship showdown work? You can just vote on them. I think it's every other day or something like that. You vote on whichever one you want. Everyone is free to make pictures or videos or music to promote what they like. No requirement though. You think data running will encompass information on people, places, and things? Agreed. And the places stuff really excites me. A fan and a bucket of ice, just saying. Unfortunately, the fans are too loud and we do not have easy access to ice. But yeah. I need some solution here. their top speed. Both the MSR and Herald are fast boys. How could that be an advantage over the Aurora? Huh. You know, I don't know. For regular speeds, the only time I could see it being an advantage would be outrunning or getting through a blockade. Getting away from interdictions, stuff like that. Like it's a tool. I don't know if it would be... I don't think it would be the defining factor of the ship, but maybe a tool that helps you get away. You don't make Turkey sound like a fun place? Why? Because I'm hot? I will say this, it's cooler here than it is in my hometown right now. I just don't have air conditioning in this house. It's a pretty old house we're renting. It's not built for the nowadays. Maybe master modes will change everything. Maybe. But I hope they've implemented it in a way that doesn't have to change everything. Can the Herald hack? If it can, yeah, that's helpful. We keep talking of data like it's some super valuable commodity, but what is data? Wormholes that already exist on the star map, now and the future map, corporate secrets from missions. Hey, the Vanduul are coming with locations. We really don't have any clarification. I think the most important thing that is data will be locations. They've been talking about custom markers on the star map, being able to set quantum beacons, being able to have locations. If you can go and find a mineable rock, a derelict ship, a unmarked bunker with loot in it, literally anything in the game you could possibly think of another player wanting to see, that's valuable data. And if all you need to determine that is a simple location marker on a map, then that's all you need. But I think we'll also probably, see things like company secrets or blueprints and, random files like that. Data isn't worth anything. For caves, there are like something like 30-something caves in the game. Literally, we still have, as a player base, haven't found them all. There are a certain amount of rivers. I don't remember how many. We're getting 15 new derelict locations added into the patch in 3.20 or 3.21. Underground facilities are being made. Probably will be unmarked. Ninetails bases, Dusters bases, all these different gangs. All those things won't be marked on public maps. So those are the kind of locations that people would want to know for missions and stuff. What would be your take on removing all planet-side QT markers and only having them unlocked once you find them or someone shares the location? I think that's going to be the case for things that aren't public knowledge. So like a security station, I don't think would have public markers on it. Drug labs, I don't think so. Companies like Rayari and Shubin who have outposts on these moons, I think those outposts will probably be things you'd have to get from those companies or maybe build your reputation with to get the locations. But they can gate a lot of that stuff behind data if they wanted to. Oh, Jumptown doesn't have a QT marker. Okay. Why can't we make data worth something now? Selling me a site where a bunch of ships are that were destroyed for salvaging is worth something to me and a lot of people. I think right now it's because we don't have the new star map. So they've been talking about the new star map, being able to place your own quantum markers. We just can't do that yet. So I don't think that they care to add in data since there's no way for us to share it really. You can data run right now though. I've seen people making money. They go out, they find mineable location or a derelict ship. They leave their ship there, suicide, and then you automatically get a marker for where your ship is from the last time you were alive. And then they'll go into chat and they'll say, hey, I've got 5 rocks full of Quantanium. Join my party, pay me money and I'll add you to my party and you'll have the location of that stuff. That's like a very rudimentary way of doing exploration, but I've seen people getting paid for that kind of stuff already. debating is that how is that data considered a valuable commodity and for whom? And as far as a game loop is concerned, don't you think this would need to be all worked out long before it's implemented to perhaps avoid all the pitfalls of cargo and economy? Yeah, I think that's why they haven't put it in game. They're building locations, they're building AI, they're building the narrative, they're building reputation, they're building all of the things that would go into having value behind data. This is the same question that we can have for all the player-run economies, right? In EVE Online, why is a certain ship more valuable than another? Generally, because somebody in the game really wants it. Why would a mining location have any value for somebody? If you go into my org and you tell folks that you can tell them where they can find Quantanium rocks, they'll pay money for it. We already aren't waiting on CIG. There are several websites telling you how to find some of the settlements, UGFs, and rivers. True. Yeah, we can open up Verse Guide here. This is a very, I think whoever's running this might be in the chat right now. Skippy. But this is it. This is value on data. People come to this website a lot. I've talked to him. He sees a lot of hits. They come here because they don't know how to find these things in game. The only thing Data Runner would be doing is taking this system that we already have and moving it to an in-game interface instead of having it on the map here. Look at these locations are stuff that people have gone into the game and found, or gone into the files and found and reported on where it is, what it offers, what the sunrise and sunset is at that point, what the atmospheric conditions are, what the economy is. Like, all this kind of stuff is stuff that you would just do in-game instead of on a website. And the fact that websites like this exist, I think, prove that people find value in it. I don't think the new Star Map needs 4.0. I think that's just what they're waiting for to give it a nice splash. What economy? Well, what data running? Neither of these things exist right now. With that said, why are we all speculating on what data is and its value? Because we don't actually know what it is. As is the case with most things in Star Citizen, we have what they've said about things, we've had what they've hinted at with things, and we have what we believe. And it's fun to talk about those things. Honestly, there's no point in speculating on this stuff because it'll be something that we don't really get a say in, but it's fun to try and figure it out. You only sell things to NPCs since they outnumber us. That's probably safer. Let's be honest. Humans are humans. By the way, I would check out Verse Guide if you like Star Citizen. This is a really cool... This is a very cool... oh yeah, see, look, there it is. There's a hidden locations label. So these are all, I guess, unmarked locations, maybe? I don't actually know. Oh, I see. It adds in the unmarked locations. Data is information. Information is power. Information is power. Yeah, Lord Skippy. I don't know if he's still in chat, but him, another member from our org, and a couple other folks, they have their own, they have a Discord for this. Everything's set up. You can go in here. You can actually talk with them about helping to figure out this data and like build this stuff together with them. And like I said, this isn't the only website that does it. Some cool stuff. Something that we have ships for, but not the gameplay exploration. You'd like to have that as something to actually do. Guess that's for when we have 100 systems. I think they're gearing up for it right now. I think the locations that we're seeing, the resources, the mining, the data, the derelicts and all that stuff is kind of exploration focused. After 11 years, you're over speculating, not gonna lie, just checking now and then, play a bit of every patch, log off and say, see you next year. And that is a good way to do it. Most people should not be speculating on this game. What we're doing right now, guys, it's fucking weird, okay? Like, this isn't normal. Talking about a game, unreleased features, with so little information, to this depth, is really strange. I don't do this about any other game. So, like, it's completely reasonable to be over this. I get that. It's just fun. It never gets old for some of us. I personally would love to see it in the game, but until it's in the game, I like to talk about what I think it might be. And yeah, I think a lot of these game systems also just, you can't work on data running and exploration until you have data to run and things to explore. They couldn't have things to run, data to run and things to explore until the planetary tech was good enough that they could have permanent caves, rivers, and outposts on planets. They couldn't have permanent caves, outposts, and rivers on planets until the Planet Tech team got their first version in, which was back in 2021. The Planet Tech team couldn't get their first version in until the engine team made it possible to build planets well. You could just keep following this ladder down a path of seeing why certain things don't get built. And it's frustrating. But I honestly believe if they had put data running into the game back in 2018, 2019, 2020, we'd all be pretty pissed at how it performs now. Same with salvage. If they had put salvage into the game before PES, they would have had to go and redo salvage for PES, and it would have been very annoying. Never know who is listening. That's true, Kragan. Who knows? Maybe Chris Roberts is watching this stream right now. Speculation is fun. Again, I bring the CCU game. I hate the CCU game. I'll stick to the speculation game. And even then, I will gladly admit that it is not something I would normally do. Like, I was obsessed with Cyberpunk. I'm obsessed with Starfield. Super pumped for Fable. All games I'm really excited for, but I'm not gonna take time to speculate their features like this. I think some people would call that passion. And passion, addiction. Yeah. The War Bond CCU, the Crucible. Baldur's Gate 3, I actually don't really follow Baldur's Gate. To be honest, I don't pay that much attention to fantasy games. The only fantasy games I've really loved are the Fable games, the Witcher games, and the Elder Scrolls games. And Stardew Valley. But that's not really fantasy. So I don't have much to say about Baldur's Gate 3, but I hear it comes out today and people are really pumped for it. When do I think you'll get the Liberator? That's that ferrying ship, right? I would hope we'd get that by 4.0, but I don't think we will. I think that's probably not coming until past next year if we haven't heard about it yet. For those like me who've already lived in 7 decades to have waited over a decade for a game, no matter how awesome it is or how hopeful we are, I just want to play my way as promised, but I speculate my way will never come, and I'll be forced to play someone else's way, and only a trickle at a time unless my time for waiting expires before release. Yeah, that is the sad reality of Star Citizen. They are building the game for Chris. They're building what he wants to play and what he wants to see, and they're building it at his timetable, which can be unfortunate for us. I'm working on a game right now, or a video right now, and at the end of the video I say, I don't even think people know what this game's going to be when we play it. It'll be a living game, a living space world where we can do the things we want as careers, but the exact way that we play the game is just so far away from what we're doing now. No, I've never played Elden Ring. Haven't tried Heavenly Bodies either. Interesting name. Still want them to make a mining vehicle that can handle bigger rocks. Would be pretty cool to have some heavy duty stuff. If it's got the scale for it. Has anyone else noticed the Idris K upgrade has been permanently added to the add-on section? Did not know that. Miss Tomato might disagree there. About what? Oh, that we're building that, about they're building the game for Chris? Oh, Heavenly Bodies. I've never even heard of that game. Oh, that I've never played. Oh. Right. No, I play it all the time. I don't think they will stop selling ships when they hit beta. I think maybe they'll stop selling certain types of ships when they hit full release, going live, getting rid of AUEC. But I think they will always sell starter ships, probably ships in a certain range, maybe like up to a Cutlass Black or something. I think that makes sense, but they might not. But I'm hoping that they can just make a lot of money from cosmetics instead. I think that'd be the best way to do it. But anyways, folks, my friends, Cloud Empyrean's in a net loss. I don't think they're at a net loss. I'm pretty sure they come out positive, like a few million every year. I don't actually know if they say how much they... Yeah, here we go. So they spent 100 million in 2021. I don't know. I feel like they're... I don't know if they actually say that. A hundo, though. 100 million. Holy crap. Oh, here we go. Net position. Cumulative net position before investments is... looks like about 5 million. So yeah, they come out positive. 2019, it looks like they came out negative. You'll just buy UEC and buy the ship with that. Yeah, they need to be careful with selling UEC. Icy Melon, you enjoyed the last couple podcast episodes. You're going to enjoy this next one. I've got a Escape from Tarkov creator. Many people probably know them. Goes by the name of Goat. Did that huge video that blew up at the earlier this year about Tarkov cheaters. Did a video about Star Citizen earlier this summer. And I thought I could have him on to have a little candid talk about Star Citizen, how he views it from more of the outside perspective he has, and talk about the video he made about it. So keep an eye out for the podcasts. And then I've also got another guest coming up in a couple weeks. Previously an Elite Dangerous creator, went to work for CIG for a little bit, settling down, going to join me on a show. Many of you probably know the name, but I'll leave that as a little bit of a surprise. So we've got some things planned out. For the record, I don't think that this funding bump came from COVID. I think it came partially from COVID, but if you look back at the funding for Star Citizen in 2020, the boom actually started in 2019. So if you look at like a page like this, you can see that in 2020, January was way bigger than any other year prior, before COVID was even a thing. February was also big. 2 to 3 times the size of the previous year's months. So I don't think it was necessarily COVID that made 2020 blow up. I think that added to it for sure. But the stability, Star Citizen saw persistence for the first time in 2020, and I think that added a lot to it. The very first patch of 2020 allowed people to earn money for ships quarter over quarter, which made a big difference for a lot of people playing, I think. COVID was rumored in December 2019. Some people... People were like, there's some disease spreading in China. I'm going to go buy spaceships. Anxiety funding. No, nobody was even taking it seriously until like February, right? I remember those first couple months of 2020. It was like kind of surreal. You're reading these news reports and you're like, wow, this sounds intense. And then you hear that it's spread to like Italy and you're like, oh, that's interesting. And then you hear it spread to like 5 other countries. You're like, wait a second. This doesn't sound good. And then we got to March. Funny enough, I actually had a job interview, guys. I was going to stop doing YouTube and take back up work in engineering. And I went to do my interview. I think it was like March 12th or something like that. It was the day that the markets reacted to COVID. And the dude who was hiring me didn't even come to the interview. It was just, for whatever reason, I won't get into all the reasons that it might have been, because they might get a little political. But yeah, that was not a good time to get a job interview. In retrospect, it's probably better that I didn't do it beforehand, though. You can correlate that data with what patches we were on exactly. It's a lot of money, man. I think these pages are pretty interesting, though. If you're interested in this, I'll link it for you. They release their financial information every year for the year prior. It's interesting info. But that, guys, that wraps me up on the monthly report. Went a little longer than I was planning to. Thank you so much for coming to this. Hope you got some information here. Hope you learned something new. If you didn't want to catch it all right now, or like if you didn't get the chance to, feel free to check out the video I release next week. There will be a more polished one that doesn't include all the talking and jabbering and getting distracted. It's a downwards trend. I don't think so. Did I miss something? Downwards trend? No, it's an upwards trend. We will see the Squadron 42 part of the report soon. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that tomorrow before my podcast. I don't know how much I'm going to go through that, though. I don't usually touch on the Squadron updates. Those are a lot of the same, and I'm not that interested in Squadron right now. But yeah, maybe we'll go over it tomorrow. Just look at all of the stuff, all the news things. I'm going to send you all on Twitch over to Vertigo's online. So is Cutlet. I'm going to send you over to HE Vertigo, folks. For some Star Citizen gameplay, you can get past all the yibber yapping and actually watch some game going on. And one last thank you to everybody who joined me today. It's always a good time. I love these chats. Like I said, these are the best streams of the month. Lots of fun. They're like one bad year away from everything falling apart. I think they'd be okay if they had a bad year. I think if they kept flat right now, they'd be okay. But they are really looking to expand, so I'm guessing they're expecting an influx of cash soon, which I think points to Squadron 42. But we'll just have to see. Anyways, I hope you all have a great day. Be happy. Go give somebody a hug. Say hi. You know, maybe pet a bird or something. I don't know. Let out the happy flows. And enjoy your day. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.